Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's installment of ClueCon Weekly. This week, we have Sanny Dominguez with us. He's an independent consultant working in the infrastructure as a service space and long member of the open source community and doing a lot of work on system stuff. Thank you, Sanny, for joining us today.
Thank you, Lucas. Nice to meet you again. And I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to share. I mean, from my knowledge, everything I can in this talk with you.
Oh, awesome. So, would you like to give us a quick introduction about yourself first?
Of course. Well, I have been in the VoIP war, infrastructure war, and also IT the last 14 years, let's say, yeah. And my first introduction to the to the IT environment was in the networking world. Cisco, DINS,
Oh,
and networking like branches, different networking branches. But then I moved because of the needs of the different jobs. Then I moved to the infrastructure, uh, servers more specifically, and then to the core of infrastructure as a service. And right now, that's what I'm like doing for my day to day, specifically uh, deployments for clients, deployments for new infrastructures, deployment in the boy world, likely in free PBX, also in Asterisk plane solutions, using high ability solution like Chameleon, also using uh, other solutions for load testing like SIP PP solutions for deploying grayscale environments in AWS or in GCP like Kubernetes, and things like that. So that's a brief because there's a, but I think that's a brief that cover the asterisk world of my professional deployment.
nice. So, you mentioned a lot of tools. First of all, do you use FreeSwitch in any of your infrastructures?
I have used Fusion Boys, but no, yeah, no. Actually, no, I haven't used Free Switch like in any of my deployments so far. I kind of tried one time, but then the time was, as always, like over me, and because there are many solutions and many things to implement, so I just uh, with my with my line using plain asterisk is served, and sometimes, of course, depending on the need, free PBX, like let's say as a GUI tool. But commonly, what I end up is just customizing for the clients any need or anything that I can do.
Nice. Yeah, that's so you've been using Asterisk. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. This always comes across wrong. I ask about Friswitch because it's what we do every day, but there's plenty of other good projects around there. It's not like Friswitch has the
Oh
monopoly.
yeah, yeah. I know it's a great solution. I have heard like there's a lot to do with free switch, but I really haven't had like the time to introduce to myself to then serve the solution, or let's say serve any application or any customization on free switch.
Cool. So, yeah.
I
So
would like to.
you mentioned a few open source tools. What are the ones you use the most, and why do you like them? And do you think there's something missing? We generally try to go into that kind of discussion here because it's about this podcast is
Of
about
course, of
open source
course.
in general.
Well, what can I say? I have okay. In my experience, I have been working with call centers here in my country, also in freelancing world, like Upwork, and also working with different VoIP solutions for branches or brands like um, okay, I think I cannot mention maybe those
Mhm.
names here because our company things. But yeah, brand different brands. So uh, Camilio is one of the tools that I mostly use for the big implementation. Like okay, those implementation that I need to have something in the front so it can like do the SIG proxy, SIG register, the maybe location, sometimes uh, application, dispatcher things, and the web sockets. I mean, it will depend mostly on the need, but those are like the tools that I use the most because of the flexibility, because of the open source open source
Yeah.
tool that can give like the weight so I can customize it and I can work with it for the different solutions that I can offer. I mean, other open source too. I have worked with, well, the open source part of the tool, of course, CPP, and also the part of, let's say, um, when you want to test the load in an enterprise that have maybe some issues with okay, I have a big call center, but I don't know what happened at the time of the day because my call center get maybe less calls, but my service, I mean my voice service is failing and I having many issues. So how can you find a way to help us in that? So you need to load testing. You need to load testing because you don't know. You don't. I mean, you can get like the environments and network diagrams and everything like that. But when you come to the void world, you need to load testing. If not, you won't find anything useful to get to the right point. Of course, the other open source solutions that I mean, there's always, as I told you, part of open source and part not open source. But
Of
I
course.
mean, Kubernetes is one of the like 2 years from now. Yeah, 2 years from now, I start using it, and I haven't stopped. It is a great tool. I mean, mostly for the cloud. I mean, GCP give you like, I mean, Google Cloud give you the easiest way to implement it when you want to have like okay, I need a high ability environment, I need
Mhm.
a, a environment in different regions, so I need to assign people from different regions to get the best streaming, let's say the best connection, the best load balancing for my environment, for my infrastructure. So you you think on Kubernetes right away because you can just split out this. I mean, Kubernetes work with pods, which is kind of, I mean, let's say Docker. Well, Docker in his way, Docker containers. Pods
Mhm.
can have different Docker containers. I mean, more than one or one, just whatever you need there. So you can just put like bombs, let's say, like little bombs on whatever you need to have those pods for you. So then you just merge it in a big solution with this manager of Kubernetes. So you will be able to approach things like, okay, as I told you, I need people from Asia to have a better connection. So
Mhm.
you think, oh, okay, so I can assign these pods to this region, and then these people will get a better connection, and also they will get an improve on anything that has to be on RTP like poor binding, things like that, and high-low streams, because when you have your cloud environment, I mean, deployed, it is really difficult sometimes to find a way to split out the load and also to get a good result from it. But doing the right thing, you can get it with Kubernetes, and of course you need to do your customizations and things like that.
Cool. So going back to something important that you mentioned earlier, load testing. I know a lot of people will build telephony applications who don't load test very much, if at all. So if you had an application that you newly built and have not yet load tested, or you haven't load tested very much, what are your recommendations? Like, how would you get started? What kind of scenarios do you need to test? What other tools someone will want to use to start? Let's go. How would you start if you never done load testing before?
Okay, first, and that's something I have to thank my let's say networking preparation from the beginning of my career. Right, it is see how your networking is working, how your network environment is built, how your network. I mean, independently if it is a on-premise or cloud environment, you have a network environment. So you need to see like a whole picture of it. You need to have okay, these are the posts that are open, these are the services that are an offering, these are the the different the different applications that the users need to open at this time. They use this application with video, they use with this application with I mean with just audio streaming. So then once you have that documentation, what I mean is just put it in, write it down. I mean, just do not take the diagram and see it. You need to write down all the things that I just told you, and then start from there to load testing. I mean, okay, I want to find what is the issue. Okay, RTP, I mean, RTP echo and pickups, playback from each of these points that I just mentioned, and maybe more depending on the environment. You can do okay, pickup playback feature, and also start. I mean, load testing in audio, load testing in video, load testing in this application that use Asterisk for this, that use your VoIP server for this, and and then I mean, once you write it down, you will have a statics. After you have those statics, then you can decide what will be your next move. I mean, load testing is not maybe a certain science, but it is a helpful
Uh-huh.
science. So you will find a way. Once you, I mean, you can discard, or you can get the most of low. I mean, you can get the solution. I mean, sometimes we just get it with the load testing, but sometimes it helps you to discard everything else that you don't need to have in your troubleshooting in your environment. Like, okay, in your environment, like if you want to deploy a new environment, and you want to know how much this environment can grow, or how much this environment can get. I mean, can get how much it can get from all the equipment that you have, or from all the services that you have hired in the cloud. So you need to load test that, but you need to do it by a step. You need to do it in a planning services. Let's say that the services, writing down those services, and then planning those testing depending on the quantity of calls, on the quantity of persons that will be working for you, on the quantity of, I mean, on the amount of your internet connection. Like, I mean, your bandwidth, say. Uh, I mean, just get a meter of your jitter, packet loss, and things like that.
Cool. So yeah, that's you're right in that there's some science to it, like you know what you're looking for, but sometimes you have to go by feeling. I don't know how to phrase it better. And if you have video in the picture, it's even more complicated because video uses more resources, so you have bigger jumps in resource utilizations. So it's even
Excessive
harder to
force.
predict.
Yeah. I mean, the suite of protocol of H.264 is really complex. I mean, it is. I mean, video is a great capability. I won't say it's not, but the most you can get from your audio. So get it before get into video, because video is conference deans. Video is also, I mean, a high load or high bandwidth payload for your either packets, for your zip packets, and then uh, if you don't calculate things the right way, so that's why it comes the load testing that we just been talking about. It is neat for you to do those load testing on what you have, and if you need to increase on any of your features, devices, needs, I mean, you will need to do it, and you will know because you did that load testing based on your future thinking on what would be on what you just have right now, because many times it's just that we have this environment which is, I mean, working some time of the day but not the other time of the day, and that's pretty much I mean a fairly cost to use load testing.
That's yeah, it is. You're absolutely right. It's video can be sort of complicated, but then we come back to, it's at some point it starts working, right? It's always been
Yeah,
useful.
I mean the video war in the in let's say in this VoIP, I mean, in this VoIP war, I mean, as well, is part of it. So and now more than ever, we need to live with it. So we need to find ways to do it, but it's not. I mean, what I'm telling you, and just as an advising for the audience, it is not as easy as just buy a system and put it there. It is more complex. Is analyzing, is giving the client the most that they can have, but also telling the truth about what they have and what they need. So it is a way to work. It's a way to to get the most from everything, but give the most from everything in your network environment.
So there's another topic that you mentioned
Mhm.
that people very often get stuck on. You only know, since you've been in the industry for a while, that Asterisk and Friswitch being, well, they're similar enough that for a long time people were
Mhm.
saying that should never run Friswitch or Asterisk in a container or even a virtual machine or Kubernetes or Docker or whatever. That has changed for the last, I will say, 3 or 4 years, because honestly, and even before, like as far as I remember, I've always ran Friswitch in a container once I learned Docker. So it was 0 point something version of Docker Compose, which was very old. Still, what are the main hurdles in running Asterisk on Kubernetes? Because I know that's still not super easy. How do you deal with the networking and the reverse proxying, etc.?
Okay. Okay. First, I mean, let's start from a good point that you just mentioned. Docker. I mean, start before Kubernetes, and everybody start in this in open source world start playing with Docker. So and we the ones that work with VoIP the most for implementation. Okay, we were happy and say, hey, wow, this is wonderful. Now we can just have everything in a container in this little DIN, and I can deploy hundreds of it, and I can get right away my services, and the client will be happy, and then I can grow really easily because it seems to be escalable, and okay, everything is contained. I mean, it's a container, but no, yeah, the reality is, as you just say, it come, and then you find out that there were a lot issues with it because it's not easy to deal with this containerizing and the application itself. I mean, the voice, different voice application, not just maybe Asterisk. There, I mean, I have played with more than three that starting having issues since, I start playing with Docker since either start, and and it was so difficult to adapt those Docker, compose, to get like the right fit for even to have an stable system at the beginning. But and more recently, let's say 2, 3, 2.5 years ago, the open source world have found different ways to implement this, and have found different ways to get the most from this containerized world, which is basically, do the best addressing you can. I mean, awareness management, large port number opening, randomly allocation are the issues that you will find anytime you implement this. Addressing awareness and addressing management, it is the base issue for this. Then the ports, large numbers of ports need to be translated, need to be named, need to be opened, and then this randomly allocation that you have because of the beer, the essential of the VoIP application is not it is wrong. It's not something that is wrong. It's because it needs to be right there, because you won't find any C code like having this randomly allocation, this sockets connection. I mean, needs to be like that, or you won't have the right thing. Then once you have those issues, you just, okay, these are the issues that we know that could affect you, so that could make your implementation, having the wrong results. So how you can address this? This is really something that is, let's say, easy to know once you get the right knowledge from the networking world, and also from the server management and service as a service world. So I'm sorry. Addressing, you can handle addressing with these external APs and internal AP pods, using only support by infrastructure. I'm sorry, only support by infrastructure. Internal pods, also one-to-one service pod to pod. I don't know if you have. Okay, pod, as I told you, is just a container of containers. So if you go to this world, this one-to-one service to pod, it is something that you need to implement in order to get the most for your VoIP implementation in Kubernetes. So you're going to have a single target load balancer. So you need to put like your crude proxy, let's say like that, or proxy implementation. But this single target load balancer need to be related with it. Also, the wasteful. You need to have as many load balancer as you can. Not telling you that, okay, I will put one load balancer per pod. No,
Oh
not
wow.
something like that, of course. But you need to split these load balancer services into your regions, depending on how big is that region. You just need to split it. Maybe because you have just one region, but you are not thinking on the amount of traffic that region is handling. So you get away from this. Just having one load balancer for that region, and that's not a good idea. You get there, and then you see, okay, because of my quantity of, let's say, calls, video calls, and also the load balancing that I can handle is the region. So I need to calculate how many load balancers I can implement there. And the host networking. This is another topic that give you a great solution for Kubernetes implementation. Okay, when you have this host networking, let's say like that, uh, you can tie to the host the proxies limiters. I mean, proxies are your friends, but you need to use it to be your friends. I mean, proxies is not as simple as just, okay, I just need a proxy to to reverse this traffic, and then I would just put it in this DNS name, and that's it. Everybody can access it. Okay, no, I mean, proxy need to be need to be aware that you have more than one traffic. I mean, working for you in a specific region, in a specific environment in the cloud. But I mean, even if you entered on premise, you need to know, I mean, your proxies need to know where they can find something else that could affect them. I mean, not maybe all the, I mean, not maybe all the configuration from all the proxies, because always, I mean, you always have different configurations depending on the I mean region, on the data center that you are placed, depending on the needs. Of course, even your provider can give you a different configuration in the void world. So you need to think that proxy is going to be your friend, but only if you're going to tie it to the host the way they can see and learn whatever the other proxies can give him to, I mean, to make it to not work in a simple words.
Yeah, that there's a lot to learn. You're right that the at the end the main problem with running voice over IP in cloud configurations is,
Mhm.
in my opinion, always the SPC layer. So the proxy load balancer, whatever layer. That if you solve that, the actual application servers, Asterisk, Firstwich, whatever,
Mhm.
are not that hard, right?
Yes, yes. I think okay. I think I got too deeper, right? Okay. Yes. Basically, as you just say, it is the way you handle this SBC layer, as you just say, doing your right proxies and load balancer configuration. Because uh, at the end, if you are, of course, in the open source world, there's, I mean, good solutions, but are not open source as well. But this, when you are the administrator, when you are the one that is in charge of get this thing running, so you need to understand that for Kubernetes, and mostly in the cloud world, Kubernetes need to have his limiters. He need to have his limiters were defined, and needs to have his balancing were defined. So how you get that? You get that limiters with your proxies, and you get the balancing with the load balancer. But the combination of both is what make you to get like solutions with VoIPs like Asterisk, like Free Switch. I mean, we're playing. I mean, the best of them. I have, okay, right now, I have clients running more than, I mean, let's say 200 pods. I mean, the different regions, and running different voice services, and AWS, even in G Cloud, I mean, Google Cloud, and they are working great. I mean, because, and they are not just working great. I have to tell you that they can grow without, I mean, without being in that questioning of, oh my god, if I need to add people now from Asia, if I need to add people now from Europe, from Spain, I'm sorry, from any region of Europe, I will have an issue. I mean, would I have an issue because what I need to add? No, They know what they need to add, and they know where they need to add it because of this building way that we are capable to do with Kubernetes and load balancing and proxies.
Uh, you're absolutely right. It is the main the crux of the issue. It is. I mean, Kubernetes is a topic we could discuss for days probably because there's so
Yes.
much to know, and I feel like so. I don't know if you share this opinion, but since we're talking open source, I feel like Kubernetes has a bit too steep of a learning curve. And I am not even sure how much is the actual complexity, as it's not super well documented, to be fair. With as much use as it gets, the documentation isn't great.
Well, the problem is that you need, okay, as you just say. I mean that's something that is plain. I mean, plainly right. We have, we don't have enough documentation. The way you get the most of the documentation that already exists is, I mean, implementing Kubernetes, because sometimes it is not as easy as just go to a forum or just maybe go to the Kubernetes page and okay, I can go here. Okay, implement it. Oh, that's good. That's good. Okay, you will get stuck. You will get stuck because there's something else, which is your base knowledge in the open source environment, and also in the forums and in the different, I mean, chats, in the different I mean, pages related with this war, with this I mean, container container I mean, containers war, and more and more and more. So it is something that you need to start like layering. I mean, you need to get your first layer and then keep growing. I mean, keep growing, layering, and then start merging things, and then start like accomplish things that you will be feeling the like, okay, now I can do this, now I can do this. And of course it's a lot investigation, because there's no like, okay, this is the exact documentation of doing this. There's nothing, maybe not even just a simple YAML, I mean, YAML deployment that give you a container into a pod to get the ingress proxy, routing proxy, media servers in the right way. It is to know what does involve your solution in Asterisk, in free switch, in any voice solution. It would involve your ingress, your routing proxy, and your media servers, but also it would involve this zip handling with Camilio or whatever you use for your SVC, maybe OpenZips, and also it is this handling with this RTP traffic, and how your load can be split, and how your limiters can be set without being, I mean, without set the other limiter uh, with the right knowledge to avoid some things that you need to avoid when you are handling this traffic.
Yeah, there's a lot to learn. Cool. So, well, it's there's so many things to go on with, but we're sort of running out of time. So,
Yeah, I
well,
know.
I mean, thank you so much. So, Sanny Dominguez helped us look into load balancing, while voice over IP in general, infrastructure as a service, which is growing in usage and applications and technology. Because we didn't have, as we said multiple times, we didn't have many of these tools just, I don't know, 3 years ago. They were
Exactly.
there, sort of. They did exist, but they weren't quite ready. Where right now you can do things that 3 years ago were unthinkable. And we dove a lot into Kubernetes. Go look up Kubernetes if you haven't been using that. It's great. It's not super easy to learn, but you're going to learn a lot about containerization, etc. So, well, thank you, Sanny, for joining us today.
Thank you, Lucas. And I mean, hope I mean the audience could get, I mean, the most of this. And anything, you can just display my contact information that I will send. And thank you very much.
Of course, we'll add Sandy's contact information to the video, and anything you'd like to ask, I'm here to. Everybody has my email by now, but it's luke@signalwire.com. So thanks again, Sanny Dominguez, for joining us today. And everybody else, I'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.